Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Benedict here again from Nyaginga & Company Associates, and today I want us to see how we can create schedules. When I talk about schedules, I mean notes to the financial statements, and then we want to see how we can map them with our financial statements after creating them. So what I mean by the mapping our schedules with financial statements, we'll have this column here that is highlighted here in a different color. So we'll be having this column here. So this one is mapping our financial statement with our schedule, such that when we go to this annex 1 or annex 2, we need to be in a position to see the details of what sales are or what cost of sales are. So first we need to create the schedules first, is when we'll come again and map them to our financial statements. Remember we had created YTD actual, meaning P&L YTD, and then we also had created balance sheet. We have created cash flow. So now we want to create schedules, and then we'll map schedules with our financial statements as cash flow, balance sheet, and income statement. So let me just take you to where we need to do our code. So already I've done the code. So what I will do, I will try to explain as we move on. So our first schedule or annex is sales volume, so which is A1. So here we are saying that sales volume, which is A1, is equal to PD dot data frame, then in bracket P&L data. So we had P&L data as a variable. Then we have these columns. That's the columns. We have category, ledger, sub ledger, period actual, period budget, YTD actual, YTD budget, period last year, and YTD last year, and lastly we have total last year. And then down here we are saying that A1 is equal to A1 in square bracket A1 category is equal to sales volume. So we just want a subset of data where category is equal to sales volume. And then down here again we are saying that A1.log in square bracket total. So we want to get the total values of sales volume is equal to A1 in double square bracket. So we are putting all the numerical columns within double square brackets, then we sum. And then our next line of code, we are saying that just a moment, we are saying that A1 is equal to A1 dot replace. So we are replacing the null values with total, and then again we are trying to reset index. Then again, after resetting index, we'll have unnecessary index. So that unnecessary index has to be dropped. So here we are saying drop in bracket index. We are also dropping category, and then axis is equal to 1 because they are columns. Then again, we are trying to group by ledger. We are grouping also by the sub ledger. So the sub ledger gives the final details of what we have within our sales volume, and then the ledger is just the heading of the sub ledger. So again, down here we are saying that A1 in bracket A1 in bracket period difference, then again A1 in bracket YTD difference is equal to A1 in bracket, or rather in square bracket period actual minus A1 in square bracket period budget. And again we have A1 in square bracket YTD actual minus A1 in square bracket YTD budget. So we are trying to get the differences between the actual figures and budgeted figures in respect to the month and the cumulative month. So the period here is just the period months. For example, we can talk of February, the period February. And then when you talk about YTD difference, we are talking about the difference of the the actual figures and the budgeted figures running from January up to February. So that's what we mean by period difference and YTD difference. So in short, here we are trying to get the variances in terms of what we budgeted and the actual figures. Then down here we are trying to say that A1 underscore columns. So A1 underscore columns is equal to a period actual. So you have period actual, you have period budget, you have period actual YTD actual, we have YTD budget, we have also period difference, we have YTD difference, and then we have period last year, we have YTD total, and then we also have total last year. So we want our columns to be arranged in this form, and rather the numerical columns, we want them to be arranged in this format where we have period actual, period budget, YTD actual up to total last year. So that's all about A1. So let's print A1. We see what we have as A1. So A1 is a reference to a sales volume. We want to see what we have as sales volume. So I'll use period 1, then the financial year in review is 2017. So down here you can see we have ledger, we have sub ledger. So the sub ledgers are the final details of the sales volume, and these are the volumes that we sold within January. So A underscore B, we sold these values, and then period budget, we sold also these values, and then we also have YTD actual to mean the total cumulative volume sold within January period. So we have this, and then we also have YTD budget, and then down here we also have period last year, but in our case here period last year we did not sell anything, so we have 0 values. And then YTD last year also we did not sell anything, so we are having 0 values. Then total last year, so these are the values that we had for all the sales for the period last year. And then down now this here we are having the differences. So these are the differences value in terms of the actual figures and the budget. And then we are having the period figures, and we also have the YTD figures. So later on we'll try to arrange this these columns in such a way that they should portray what we have in this Excel workbook. I will start with let me just try to show you the notes. So here we have A1, so we'll have ledger, and then from ledger we'll be having period actual, budget, YTD actual, YTD budget, period difference, YTD difference, period last year, YTD last year, and total last year. So this is the kind of arrangement that we'll have after finishing our coding for notes to the financial statements and in regard to P&L. So let me take you back to where we are doing our code. So we've done we've completed with A1. So let's go to A2. So let's go to A2. So A2 is about sales. So these are now not sales volume, but sales in terms of the value of sales, not volume, but the actual sales now. So we are saying here that A2 is equal to pd.data frame. So the same principle that we used here in A1 is what we are trying to use down here in A2. So this is the same principle that we used in A1. Then down here you're saying that A2 is equal to A2 in square bracket A2 category is equal to sales. So we are trying to subset data where category is just sales, and then A2.log. So we are getting the total values of the sales figures. So we are putting all the numerical values within double square brackets, and then down here we are saying that A2 is equal to A2.replace. So we are replacing the null values with the total after getting the total values of the sales items. Then we are resetting index and dropping index at the same time. And we are also dropping category, and then we are grouping by ledger and the sub ledger. So the same principle that we are using, we just used in A1 is the same principle we are using in A2, as the same that we'll also use in A3 for cost of sales. But cost of sales is quite lengthy, but I will try to explain. So this is cost of sales. Cost of sales. But before we talk about cost of sales, let me try to print A2. We see what we have. Print bracket A2. So let me run this code. We'll use period 1. Financial year is 2017. So here now we have we have both A1 and A2, but what I want to show you is just A2 for the sales in currency, not in volumes. This is what we are looking at. We're looking at these figures here. So this is what we are having as A2. So these are the sales in terms of currency as opposed to volumetric sales. So we have even the YTD difference and also period difference, then the sub ledger as well. So after dealing with sales, now we need to move to cost of sales. So cost of sales, the first line of code, cost of sales, we are using the same principle. So we are saying A3 underscore S to mean opening stock is equal to these other columns. We have P&L data, and then we also have these other columns that we had in our P&L data. So these are numerical columns, and the first two columns we have category and ledger. The first three columns we have category, ledger, and sub ledger, and the rest of the columns are numerical columns. And then down here we are trying to say that A3 underscore OS is equal to A3 underscore S in bracket A3 underscore OS category is equal to opening stock. So we're just subsetting data where category is equal to opening stock. And then down here we have A3 underscore OS.log in square bracket total OS to mean total opening stock is equal to A3 underscore OS. So we are putting all the numerical columns within a double square bracket, then we sum and to get the total sum values of the opening stock. And then down here we are saying that A3 underscore S is equal to A3 underscore S dot replace. So we are replacing the null values with total opening stock. Then we reindex, and then we also drop index and category. Then we also group by ledger and sub ledger. Then A3 underscore OS1. So we just want to pick the tail, the tailing row. So the tailing row is just where we have the total value of opening stock. So we are saying that A underscore OS1 is equal to PD.data frame OS underscore A3 underscore OS dot tail. Then it is 1 because we are picking the last row of that data frame after summing the values. Then again, down here now we are doing we are trying to subset a data where we have purchase items. So we are saying A3 underscore purchase is equal to the same principle that we used here, pd.data frame underscore other in bracket p and l underscore data, then columns. You have these columns here. We have category, ledger, sub ledger, period, actual, up to total last year. Then down here we are saying that A underscore patch is equal to A underscore patch in square bracket A underscore patch category is equal to purchases. So we are looking for the values for purchases, and then down here we are trying to we are summing the values of purchases. So we are saying that A3 underscore purchases dot log in square bracket total purchases is equal to A3 underscore purchases in double square brackets. So here we have the numerical values or numerical columns within a square bracket, then we sum the values. Then again down here we are replacing the null values with total purchases. So we want to get the total purchases. So this is the last row of that subset data of purchases. So we are dropping index, we are dropping category, and then we are grouping by sub ledger and ledger. Then when we move down now, so this A3 underscore patch 1, so what we are trying to get here is the last row of that subset data of purchases. So we just want to get where we have the total sales values. So we are picking the last row of the subset data of purchases. Then A3 underscore CS. So this one is now for closing stock. So the same principle that we used in opening stock and purchases, the same principle that we will use down here for closing stock. But now what will change is just the ledger where category is closing stock, and then the total closing stock will rename as total C.S, and then you also get the last row. I will get the last row here as A3 underscore CS1 is equal to pd.data frame A3 underscore CS dot tail. So this is the last row which gives the total values of closing stock. And then now we have here A underscore CS2. So here we want to turn the closing stock as the closing stock, we want to make them to be negative values. So we are saying A underscore CS2 is equal to A3 underscore CS1 period actual times -1, then period budget times -1, YTD actual times -1. So in short, we are trying to turn the values of closing stock to negative, such that when we'll add these values to our opening stock and purchases, we're getting our closing stock. So down here we have A3 underscore CS1 in bracket period actual. So we want to get the values of rather the negative values of closing stock. So we are trying to reference all our numerical columns of the closing stock with this A3 underscore CS2. So then down here we'll also get closing stock as so here our closing stock is equal to pd.dataframe.pd.concat. So we are concatenating the three data frames or opening stock, purchases, and closing stock. Remember, closing stock we've turned to negative. Rather, the values of closing stock have been changed to negative. Then we also have our purchases. Then we also have our closing stock. So when we add this value, we are supposed to get the value of the total value of the closing stock. So down here we are saying that our closing stock dot log in square bracket cost of sales is equal to cost of sales in double square bracket. So we are putting all the numerical values within double square bracket, and then we want to sum the values so that we can get the total values of closing stock in the last row. So before then, let me just try to print. Let me try to print what we have as this closing stock for the concatenated data frame. So let me run this code, but before then, let me comment out what we had up here as A2. I will run this code. So we are trying to get the value of closing stock for the period lease period 1. Period 1, the financial year reviews 2017. So these are the values of closing stock, but we have a wide data frame from the first column as ledger, sub-ledger, and then going up to total last year column. So these are the values of our closing stock. So the last row here is what we want to use as the closing stock value. So this value here is what we want to use. Okay. Not that value, but this value here. So this is the value that you want to use as closing stock. Not closing stock, but yes, this is the closing stock. So when we add these columns, we are supposed to get a cost of sales. So we add all these columns, then we get cost of sales. So down here is where we are trying to add the columns. So here we are trying to get the values for the total value for cost of sales. So we are saying that cost of sales dot log square bracket cost of sales is equal to cost of sales. In double square brackets, we put all the numerical columns. Then this double square brackets, then we sum. So these all columns here that we have down here, we are putting them within double square bracket. Then when we sum, we'll get another row down here for the value of cost of sales. Down here we have cost of sales is equal to cost of sales dot replace. So we are replacing the null values with the cost of sales. Then we are dropping index, and then we are also putting cost of sales within a data frame. So we are saying cost of sales is equal to pd.dataframe, and then in bracket cost of sales dot tail. So tail is dot tail in bracket 1 to mean that we just want to pick the last row of that data frame, then we'll group by ledger and sub ledger. So what I can do here is just to print, let me print this before we see what we have as the last row of cost of sales. So this is C underscore S. This should be O. Let me comment out. I'll comment out this one here. Then I'll move up again. It's another printout that you don't need. Let me print out this one as well. So now I can run this code. So the period will be period 1, and then the financial year review will be 2017. So we'll use 1, then here is 2017. So this is what we have as our the data frame for cost of sales. So what we want to do is to pick this last row, the row that we want as cost of sales. So down here we are saying that moment. You see that A3 value here, A3 is equal to PD.onCat. So this is the data frame that we just concatenated, and then rather A3 is equal to PD.dataframe in bracket COS.tail. So we are picking the last row of the data frame. Then down here we are trying to concatenate A3 OS3, or rather A3 underscore S, A3 underscore purchases, A3 underscore CS, and A3 underscore rather. Then we are concatenating with cost of sales. So this is purchases, and then the other one is this is opening stock, purchases, closing stock, and this one is now cost of sales. So when I print here A3, so now I can print A3 again, print bracket A3, see what we have. So it should not be here. Let me just this. It will be down here. Let me print A3 and run that code. So it still use period 1. It's a bit slow. Period 1. So this is our A3. We have opening stock, we have closing stock, we have purchases. The purchases, this is what we have. Then we also have our closing stock. Then after closing stock, we have our cost of sales. So that's all about A3. So down here we are just trying to get the difference between actual figures and budgeted figures. So we are getting the actual figures minus budgeted figures. So we have period difference and period YTD difference is equal to period actual minus period budget, and YTD actual minus YTD budget. So we are trying to get the variances in terms of period figures and YTD figures. So again, down here we are trying to say that A3 columns. So this just to show that the columns that we have, we want to have within our A3. We want to have period actual. Want to have period budget. Want to have YTD actual, YTD budget, period difference. So the period difference here, this one should be underscore. Same applies to this one. So those are the values that you want to have as our A3 columns. Then down here just is to print A3. So it's the same data frame, but now we just reorganized the columns. So we are starting with period actual, period budget, YTD actual, YTD budget, then period difference, YTD difference, period last year. So it should be in this format. Let me just try to show you. So I'll come here. So we are trying to get this format within our A3. So it was A3, not A2. So this is what we want to have. We want to have opening stock. We want to have purchases. We also want to have closing stock. And then of course we'll also have the values of the differences in within that period. So let me take you back to where we're doing our code. So after having done with A3, so we need to move to A4. So with A4 is the same principle that we are using, that we've just used for A3. So this is A4. Forget A4, we are saying that A4 is equal to pt.data frame in bracket P&L data. Then the columns here are what we have. So it's the same principle that we've used up there in A3, in A2, A1, A3. So it's the same procedure that we are applying. So down here you're saying that A4 is equal to A4 in square bracket category is equal to direct expenses. So our A4 was all about direct expenses. So it's the same principle that we follow until we get the values of our direct expenses. So let me just try to print our direct expenses. A bit slow because of the lengthy code of where we had started. Remember, we had started from reading the Excel workbook, creating variables for input, variables for each and every period, and then we did P&L, monthly and YTD. We did cash flow and balance sheet, but now we are doing the notes to the financial statement. That's why it is a bit slow. But let me try to rerun the code again. So here we have a period as period 1, then the financial year is 2017. So this is what we have as A4. So we have these are the direct expenses, but now remember we have all the columns from we have all the columns from period actual to YTD difference. So these are just the difference between the actual and the budgeted figures. So again, now let's move to A5. So A5 is indirect expense, and indirect expense we are also using the same procedure that we've used in A4, and then I will come again and print A5. You see what we have. Let me comment out this A4. Here I need to comment out A6. Unexpected indent A5. And this one is a little bit inside, you need to be somewhere here. So let me run this code again. (2017). So this is A5. So A5, we are talking about the indirect expenses. Remember, indirect expenses, we have quite a number of items, and then we have all the columns. So when I take you to the Excel workbook where we have A5, so this is what we have as A5. We have all these expenses. So we have the ledger items and the sub-ledger items. So this is all what we have as indirect expense as part of our notes. So that's about indirect expense. And then down here now we also have other income. Other income. Let me comment out interest. So other income is the same procedure. Remember, it is coming from this P&L data as a data frame. From there, we will subset the values of indirect income, and then we'll sum the values if we have, and then we'll come out with the total values of indirect income. But when we have quite a number of categories of indirect income, they will be listed within that note as a data frame. So let's try to print indirect income. We see what we have. So the period is 1 and the financial year review is 2017. So indirect income, you only have these values. They are forex gain and unadjusted forex loss. So this is what we have as our indirect income that is not part of our business operation. And lastly, we have interest. Remember, the same procedure is what we are using in doing all these schedules. So our A7 is interest, and then after having done with interest, now we are supposed to we're supposed to print or rather reorganize our schedule. Not reorganize our schedule per se, but to reorganize our P&L level 10 P&L. So we need it to be in a format like this, where we have a ledger column, we have annex, we have these other columns from period to a total last year, and then our schedules will be A1, A2 up to A7. So S1 to S whatever, S1 to S12. So this schedule should be meant for balance sheet, and then the same procedure that we've used in creating the schedules for income statement, where we have A1 up to A7, is the same procedure that we'll use to create these schedules for these schedules from S1 to S12. So these schedules are for cash flow and balance sheet. So let me just take you back to where we are doing our code. So I was trying to say that after creating those schedules, we need to arrange our data frame in such a way that it should be in this format. This format for P&L YTD, it should be in this format. So after ledger, we should have annex, and then after annex, we need to have period actual moving up to total last year column. So down here we are trying to we are saying that we are creating notes or annexing or annex column. We are creating notes column or annex column. So we are saying that we are saying that before then we have this other line of code. Let me just try to explain this other line of code up here. This line of code, we are saying that level 10 underscore P&L in bracket period difference comma level 10 underscore P&L YTD difference is equal to period actual minus period budget, and then YTD actual minus YTD budget. Again, in short, we're just trying to get the difference of actual figures and budgeted figures, but now this one is being done within the P&L. Remember that whatever we've done up here was about schedules, but down here now we are doing for the P&L, such that when we map the schedules with our P&L underscore the P&L data frame, these columns should match with what we have within P&L data frame. So down here we are creating a reference data. So this is what we'll be using to map the schedules with our P&L data frame. So we are saying that reference data is equal to, so this is more or less a dictionary. So the first label here is ledger, and then within the ledger we have sales volume, we have sales. So remember the way we have our ledger items arranged, we are starting with sales volume, we move to sales, we move the cost of sales down up to PBT, and then we also have depreciation and amortization. So these are the calculated rows. So this will not be part of the index. So you can see it will not be part of the annex. You can see the calculated rows. We don't have values within our calculated rows. You can see what we have. So the remaining items within our ledger is what will map with the schedules or our notes to the financial statements using this column called annex. So when we go back to our coding, what we have here is we have in short, we are trying to create a dictionary, and from that dictionary we'll move it to a data frame. So the first label column here is a ledger. So within ledger we have all these items. We have sales volume, sales, cost of sales, direct expenses, indirect income, other income, interest, bank charges. We have communication expenses, general expenses, legal and professional expenses. We have manpower expense, office rent, operation expense, rent, traveling expenses, utility, warehouse expenses, depreciation and amortization. So when you check on all these values that are within this column for the ledger, they are tying with what we have within our YTD P&L. So this all these values except the values for the calculated rows should match with what we have within this reference data. And then down here we also have another label. Within that label, this is the label called annex, and under that label we have A1, A2, A3, A4. So this is what should appear within our YTD P&L YTD. So A1 will go with sales volume, A2 will go with sales, A3 will go with cost of sales, A4 will go with direct sales, and then we'll move up to where we have indirect expenses. So after getting indirect expenses, from indirect expenses we'll be having A5. All of them are falling under A5 because from we have sales volume, sales, cost of sales, direct expenses. Then after indirect income, or after other income, now we have these other expenses. So all these other expenses will fall under A5, and A5 is having all these other indirect expenses. So when I click here and take you to A5, you can see what we have. We have bank charges, we have communication, general expense, legal, manpower, we have office rent, office maintenance, travel, utility, and warehouse expenses. So all those expenses are falling under A5. And then A12 now, another S12 is depreciation and amortization. So S12 should fall under PPE. So PPE will be part of our schedules within where we'll be having a property, plant and equipment. So these schedules are for cash flow and balance sheet. But remember, depreciation and amortization also will come from PPE schedule. So PPE schedule is the S12, and after that we are saying that the ref data here is what we are trying to put within the data frame. So we are saying ref is equal to PD. Ref is equal to PD, your data frame, in bracket ref data. So we put this dictionary within data frame. Then now down here we are saying that P level 10 underscore P&L is equal to level 10 underscore P&L dot reset index, and again drop index. So we are resetting the index of level 10 P&L and then dropping the index at the same time. So we want them to be labeled from 0 continuously up to the last row. Then down here we are saying that level 10 underscore P&L final, level 10 underscore P&L final is equal to level 10 underscore P&L. So the values of this variable here is what we are assigning to this other variable here called level 10 underscore P&L F. And then now to map To map the schedules with our P&L data, we are saying level 10 underscore P&L in bracket annex. So we are trying to create another column within this data frame, and then is equal to P&L underscore P&L level 10 underscore P&L in square bracket ledger dot map. So we are mapping this data frame up here. This data frame is being mapped our level 10 underscore P&L data. So this is what we are mapping. You're saying level 10 underscore P&L in square bracket ledger dot map. So reference set index, then in bracket ledger, and then we are mapping the ledger with the annex, then dot replace. So we are placing the null values where we don't have values, or where we have null values, we are putting the double hyphen. Then from there, now we are saying okay, before I talk about reference 1, let me just try to print level 10 underscore P&L final. So print in bracket level 10 underscore P&L F. Let's see what we have. Comment out this one. We have an error somewhere. Don't know where the error is coming from. The error should be this one here. Now let me run this code. You see what we have. Period 1, financial year reviews 2017. So this is what we have as level 10. You can see now we have year difference, YTD difference, and annex as the last row of the data frame. So we need to move this. We need to rearrange our data frame such that annex should be in the second row, and these other differences should be after the actual figures and the budgeted figures. So coming down here, what we'll do, we are saying ref 1 is equal to level 10 underscore P&L final dot pop. So we are popping out this column. We are popping out this column here. All these columns, we want to pop them out, and then again we'll add them back as having arranged them in the order that should comply with this final P&L data. So we want them to be arranged in this format. So what we are trying to do, we are popping them out first, then we'll again come and put them in. So the next line of code, moment. So here we are saying that ref2 again is equal to level 10 underscore P&L dot pop. We are popping all these columns. Then down here we want now to insert the columns. We are saying that level 10 underscore P&L dot insert. So we are inserting index. We are inserting annex in column 2, second column, then ref 1. So ref 1, whatever we are trying to as ref 1 is this annex. So this is what we are trying to insert in column 2. Then when we come to column 7, we are inserting a period difference. So period difference is this ref2. So we are inserting it in column 10. In column 8, we are inserting YTD difference, which is ref3. So again, down here we are saying that level 10 underscore P and L final is equal to level 10 underscore P and L final dot reset index. Then we are dropping category. We don't need the category column now. Just want to remain with the ledger and these other numerical columns. Then level 10 underscore P and L final is equal to level 10 underscore P and L dot group by. So we want to group by ledger and annex. Then sort is equal to false. We don't want to sort the rows. Then after grouping the data, we want to sum them. Then we'll again reset the index. After resetting index, we'll have a necessary index within our columns, so that index will be dropped again. So that was level 10 underscore P and then F mean final. And then lastly, what we are doing down here, we are trying to where we have indirect expenses, we are trying to make a blank rows within the numerical columns. Not blank rows, but a blank row within the cells of numerical values. So when you check on this final product of our P and L YTD, you can see here in direct expenses we have a blank row, but indirect expense just the heading of these other indirect expenses. So here we are saying that level 10 underscore P and L dot log in square bracket level 10 underscore P and L and all where ledger is equal to indirect expenses. So we are saying where we have annex, where we have period, where we have a period budget, where we have period actual, YTD actual, period difference, YTD difference, period last year up to total last year, will have a blank string. So this is a blank string. So that's why when you check on this data frame, you don't have any value from annex column up to YTD last year. So after having done that, so now we have our P&L reorganized, and this is the final P&L before we format that data frame using Excel Writer. So let's print P&L final we see, and then I will save it here. So here we'll say P&L. This is P&L, not P&L. Okay, this should be, let me just leave it as P&L. But now down here we'll say level 10, that's P&L final is equal to level 10 underscore P&L final dot save. So when I run this code, see what we have as P&L YTD final. So now we have the annex column, and these are the numerical columns with the difference of actual and the budget. So the period is 1, and then the financial year review is 2017. So this is what we have, and this is what we wanted. In short, we start from the ledger, have the annex column, have the period actual, period budget, YTD. So this is what we want, and then from this one now we'll format it to appear to appear like what we have here in our Excel workbook. So first, let me try to show you what we have as what has been saved within Excel. So I will come here in financial automation. Then we have P&L YTD. So this one here. So apparently this is what we have as our P&L YTD. Okay. So this is what we have. We have ledger, we have an next column, we have a period actual, period budget, YTD actual, we have all these other columns. So what is remaining is having the heading and formatting the workbook in such a way that we'll have it in this format. We'll have it in this format, but their next column will not have this color. So what we'll have as the final our final product will be in that format without this this border within the annex. So the border will not be there. Let me just make this. Let me first undo. So here will not have the border, and then we'll also not have the colored column. So the final product should be what we are seeing here, and this one also supposed to be red. It's supposed to be red in color. The other ones, let me just do this. Okay, that is not what we want, but all is that we'll have. I will have this in red color, and then these other columns should appear as they do here. So that was all about nexting or mapping our schedules with financial statement. So we've done for our YTD, and then the same principle that we used in doing our P&L YTD is the same principle that should be used when we're doing the cash flow, when we are mapping the schedules for cash flow and balance sheet. So we'll not repeat the same in cash flow and balance sheet, because the same principle that we've used in P&L YTD is the same principle that is supposed to be used in cash flow and balance sheet. So that was all about mapping the schedules. And before we call it a day, you see it cannot be mapped directly, so that's why we are creating a data frame for the next column is when we map it with our P&L data frame. So it cannot be mapped directly. So we are doing indirect method way to map it with our P&L data frame. So that was all about mapping the schedules. So for those of you who have not subscribed, please do subscribe, and please share your comments or share the video with your friends so that we can also learn together. So if you have a better way or a simplest way of automating financial statements, please advise so that we can learn together. So thanks a lot for watching. Please let's meet again on the next video. So our next video will be trying to format this financial statement with Excel writer, but first we'll create a heading within our code before we format the statements with the Excel writer. So thanks a lot for watching, and let's meet again on the next video.